Today I'm going to show you how to fix the broken tip of a knife blade in just a few minutes with just a couple pieces of sandpaper and a strop. Let's get into it. Oh yeah, and before I forget, if you want to learn more about carving the realistic face, portraiture, male, female, young and old, I have an online school that I'm constantly contributing new content in that realm. And there's new stuff being added, of course, 3 times a month. So check that out in the link below. Okay, so the first thing to note here is I'm using a piece of iron or marble, anything that's hard. A hard piece of stone would work, a countertop that, again, it's made of stone, something nice and hard piece of metal. Again, this is iron. This is the base of my bandsaw, and this is typically what I'll use. I'm going to start out with 3 grits of sandpaper here, right? This is a fairly inexpensive way of going about this. I've got a 120 grit sandpaper. You can use an 80 grit, that'll make quicker work of it. This is a 220, which is our next stage, and then finally I'm going to use a 300, and then I'm going to go right to the strop, which of course I left over here. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, now oftentimes I'll use a piece of sandpaper that's taped to the surface, but in this case, since it's just a simple edge repair, I'm not going to even tape it down. I'm just going to start. By the way, fun fact about this is my first ever knife. This is the knife that got me into carving, and I broke the tip off, so I'm going to turn it into a detail blade, even though I never use detail blades. Okay, so we got the chip. It's not a ton of material that's removed off of this blade, but it's enough to make a difference. So I'm going to start by taking the blade, back side of the blade down, facing down, so the sharp side up. And I'm going to start by pulling, and as I'm pulling, I'm going to rock the blade up like so. Okay, I'm going to do this repeatedly, rocking that blade up as I move it over. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating a rounded over nose. Here, let me get a little more light on here. I guess sort of a nose on the tip of the blade. We'll do this a few times, and you're going to be shocked as to how easy it is to repair a blade like this. A few more times, I don't know, maybe 30 passes or so. Steady slope, and just like that you can see, here, let's get that light on there. Just like that you can see that that blade is starting to, that profile is starting to look a lot better. There it is, now you can see. Okay, profile is looking a lot better, and I'm going to make a couple more passes because it's still in need of a few more passes. So I said 30, but maybe even 40 or 50 passes. But I mean, what is this? A couple of minutes? A couple of minutes out of your carving time. So I'm kind of trying to pay attention to that I am trying to pay attention to that profile. And I think that's a really good spot right there. See, there it is. So we've rounded that back side of the blade over, like so. And now what we can do is we can take this finer grit, the 220 grit sandpaper, and go over it again, right? The goal here is to just try to smooth it out a little bit. And I'll kind of take the blade and I'll turn it a little bit on its side. I want to get rid of any really hard or sharp edges that could cut our hands when we're pushing on the blade. And we're still rocking it, but we're turning it on its side, almost at a 45 degree. You can even do a little bit of a roll. Again, this is the back side of the blade, not the front. You don't want to be doing this on the front side of the blade, okay? Obviously. So we've got our 320 grit. We're going to finish with that. All right, and what we can do is if we want to make sure and address our tip, make sure it's in good shape, we can give it a quick drag across. So I'm laying it flat against the bevel, so we can get a better angle here. Flat against the bevel, and I'm just dragging it across. That's it. Just to make sure we're truing up that edge, making sure there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, now assuming your strop already has honing compound, if it doesn't, I use a little bit of Zam. Zam, here I'll show you the branding. I have that in the link description below, but it's just a stick of polishing compound. So you rub that on your piece of wood. Get your knife out of your hand, stab yourself. And I'm just going to apply it to the surface and drag it across. And you know, I'll even use the strop on the back side of the blade. So right now I'm leaving this blade flat, and I've done a video on stropping, you can watch that, so I'm not going to bore you with this, but flat against the strop, pulling it across until we get a nice polish. But then I'm going to do something kind of funny here, kind of weird, aside from bumping my camera. I'm going to turn this blade, and this is kind of interesting, and I'm going to strop the back side. And again, the goal here is to kind of rock it back and forth to get it flat and to maintain that tipping motion as I'm pulling it. Slight fluid tipping motion just to make sure that we're getting this nice and polished. And again, this is going to ensure that we're not cutting ourselves on the edge, the back side of this blade. And just like that, we have a very functional little knife that's absolutely ready to do all kinds of damage. And this is fun for me because this is the first time I've used this knife in many years. Again, this is like an 18-year-old blade. This is my first ever knife that got me into wood carving. And so, anyway guys, I don't think it gets a lot simpler than that. So there you go. You have a broken tipped tool. Hopefully it's a little longer than this. You don't have to turn it into a detail blade, but look at that. I mean, here, I'll show you what this blade looked like before I started using it. I mean, I used this knife consistently every day for 9 years. And here's a look at what the blade looked like before. This is the same make and model even, so you can really see there's a before and after. Before, after. From years of polishing and grinding and stropping and learning. I learned how to sharpen on this blade. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Take your vitamins, all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.